Welcome. Today we're going to be taking a look at Escape Plan. This is a 1 to 5 player area movement hand management tile placement game where you take the role of thieves that have robbed a bank and are enjoying the good life. You have hidden away your cash and invested in businesses throughout the city, but now the police have made a breakthrough in the case. And you and your fellow thieves are scrambling to recover as much money as possible and get out of the city in 3 days. You are trying to become the most wealthy thief. How do you become the most wealthy thief? The thief that gets out of the city by the 3rd day with the most cash is the most wealthy thief and wins the game. Now that we know what the winning condition is, let's take a look at the components setup and how gameplay works in Escape Plan. Now let's take a look at the components. You have the double-sided main game board, city tiles, business tiles, safe house tiles, fixer tiles, locker tiles, locker keys. In the regular edition, you would have tiles for keys, equipment tiles, exit tiles, money, police tokens. The black police token is your SWAT, the red police token is your federal police, and the blue police token is your county police. Gang members, gas cans, extra action discs, time token, cloth bag for police tokens. Now let's look at your cards. First, your contacts board, which displays your contact cards. This is a part of the Kickstarter edition. Then you have your contact cards, patrol cards, handcuff cards, escape plan cards, exit cards, inspector and lieutenant cards. And if you have the Kickstarter edition, you have the Sandra and Lieutenant Costa pawns to go with the cards. Also with the Kickstarter edition, you have the optional player powers, mission cards, as well as tokens and markers to go with your mission cards. Now let's look at the player components. You have your player board, player screen, player pawn, notoriety and turn markers, gang control markers, income markers, and if you have the Kickstarter edition, you do have 2 sets of income markers. You have regular wooden and then acrylic. Rest token, asset tiles, and then the general player components. You have wound tokens, notoriety tokens. In the Kickstarter edition, you have the option to use red stars for notoriety, or you could use the regular black cubes. First aid token, player aid, and then finally we have the rulebook and score pad. Now let's take a look at the setup. We're going to be setting this up for a 3-player game, which takes 19 general steps and 14 player steps. Step 1. Place the main board in the center of the play area. Based on the number of players, you will determine which side of the board to use. So since we're setting this up for a 3-player game, we're going to use the side that says 1 to 3. Step 2, place 2 starting city tiles. You will randomly select and place 2 starting city tiles, making sure that the arrows are both pointing either up or down. Step 3, separate, shuffle, and stack the remaining city tiles. You will separate city tiles based on the letter on the back of the tile. Then you will shuffle each stack and place them next to the main board. Step 4, flip over the top tile of each stack. Step 5, shuffle and place the patrol cards. You are going to shuffle the patrol cards, discard 1 back to the box, and place the rest face down on the main board. Step 6, place all the police tokens into the bag and shuffle. Step 7, draw 2 random police tokens for the top city tiles of each stack and the starting city tile without the hospital. Step 8, check for duplicates. If any of the tiles have 2 of the same color police token, discard 1 and do not replace. Step 9. Place all business and safe house tiles. You will place the tiles face up on the main game board. Step 10. Place the keys. You are going to randomly place the 9 keys face up at the safe houses. Step 11. Place the fixer tiles. Place the tiles face up next to the safe houses. Order does not matter when placing the fixer tiles. Step 12. Separate, shuffle, and place locker tiles. You will separate locker tiles by color, shuffle each stack, and place them in their matching spaces at the convenience store. Step 13. Separate and stack equipment tiles and place gas cans. You're going to separate the equipment tiles by type and place them face up in their corresponding space near the convenience store, and place the gas can tokens next to the equipment. Step 14. Separate, shuffle, and stack exit tiles. You'll separate by the color on the back of the exit tile. You will shuffle each stack and place them next to the game board. Step 15. Shuffle and reveal contact cards. You'll place the contact board next to the main game board, shuffle the contact cards and place them on the board and reveal the first 7 cards. Step 16. Place the gang members. You'll place 6 on their location to the right side on the main game board, and then you will place 2 on the starting city tile that has the gang member location. Step 17. Place the time marker. Place the time marker at the starting space on the time track. Step 18. Create pools for extra actions, money, and handcuff cards. You will place these pools to the side of the main game board. Step 19. Give each player a player aid and place exit costs between the players. Now let's look at the player steps. Step 1. Get player components and place the player pawn. Get your player components of your color and place the pawn on the hospital location. Step 2. Place your income cubes on your player board. Step 3. Place officer asset tiles on your player board. Order doesn't matter. Step 4. Place the extra action asset tile on your player board. Step 5. Place the remaining asset tiles on your player board. Order doesn't matter. Step 6. Place your gang control markers on your player board. Step 7. Place your first aid token on your player board. Step 8. Place 3 wound tokens in the green box on your player board. Step 9. Place your rest token sun side up on the blue box on your player board. Step 10. Place notoriety tokens on your player board. Step 11. Set up your money bag screen and get 9K in money to place behind the screen. Your money is kept secret. Step 12. Shuffle and deal escape plan cards. You will shuffle and deal 1 escape plan card to each player. The escape plan cards are secret. The rest of the escape plan cards will go back to the box. Step 13. Select turn order. Players are to select who goes first, place their marker on 1, and then going clockwise, players will place their marker on the turn order track. Step 14. Place your notoriety markers. Players will place their notoriety markers on 1 on the notoriety track. Now let's take a look at the gameplay. A game consists of 3 days or 3 rounds. A round consists of 6 phases. Income, where you gain money from investments and purchase asset tiles. Patrol, where police close exits. City, where you reveal city tiles and their locations. Turn order, where you change the order of play. Player actions, where players take actions for different parts of the day. There are 5 different parts of the day. And then finally, the change of day, where you prepare for the next day. Now let's take a look at each of these phases in detail. Phase 1, income. You will skip this phase on day 1. During this phase, players will receive income based on the lowest visible number on their income track on the player board. As more of your income tokens are used, you can see that the number will go down. Then players with notoriety levels 1 or 2 can choose to spend 3K to unlock an asset tile. When you unlock an asset tile, it would move to the left side of your player board and you would place it in the highest cost available. And if you do not have any spaces left, it is discarded to the box. So your first unlocked asset tile would go over the 4 space. Phase 2, the patrol phase. This is where you will reveal the top 2 patrol cards and place them in the corresponding space. If a second patrol card for a particular number is placed, that exit is blocked. When an exit is blocked, you would take a stack of exit tiles and cover the exit. If that exit is on the board, you would place that stack on that exit on the board, or if it's at the top of one of your stacks. So for this step, we revealed the top 2 cards. Both patrol cards were 3, so that means when the exit 3 pops up at the top of our stack or on the main board, we would place a stack of exit tiles on top. Phase 3, the city phase. In turn order, players will place city tiles. You will place all turned up city tiles in the display. So if there are less than 4 players, some players will place more than 1. City tiles must be adjacent to 2 existing city tiles with at least 1 land type connected. If you match more land types, it makes travel easier. There are 4 land types: black, which is industrial, gray, which is commercial, green, which is residential, and blue is water. When placing the tiles, all the police tokens will move with the tile. If a tile has a business or safe house, you would choose an available business or safe house. And if the tile has a gang space, you would place 2 gang members from the supply. After you have placed the 4 city tiles, you would flip over the top of each stack of city tiles face up and place 2 police on each. If you have any duplicates when drawing police tokens, you would discard 1 back to the bag and not replace. That brings us to phase 4, the turn order phase. Turn order is adjusted based on notoriety. In case of a tie, order is reversed. So on day 1, because all of the players have the same notoriety, the player order is reversed because all of the players are tied. Phase 5, player action phase. During this phase, players will take an action for each part of the day and then they will update their notoriety track. Players must take an action during the morning, afternoon, and evening, but to take an action during the night and dawn, you must discard an extra action token if you have one. For the player actions, players must either choose to rest or move. When choosing to rest, you follow 3 steps. 1. Flip your rest token to the moon side. If it is already on the moon side, then you cannot rest this turn. Step 2. Flip back all contact cards, equipment tiles, and the first aid token. They are now usable once again. And then step 3, unlock a locked asset. Now let's look at the move action. When you choose to move, you carry out 3 steps: travel, avoid, and visit. You may also take additional executive actions during your move. Step 1, travel. You can spend up to 3 movement points to travel. They are spent when you are leaving a location to land. This is crossing over a circular location or an exit, entering a location from land, crossing land, or going from location to location. This is only if the 2 locations are touching. You can never end your turn on water. You may spend a gas can token to move 1 more movement during your action. And then there are special travels. Ferry water tiles, these are the water locations with the F circled, allow you to move across water just like land. Subway, these are locations where you can go from subway to subway without spending a movement. And then the heliport. This allows you to move to any land or location 1 to 2 tiles away for 1 movement point. Step 2 is avoid. If you move to a different city tile, you must try to avoid the police from the tile or tiles you left. Subway or heliports only avoid the tile they left. It's good to keep in mind that you can avoid police by using executive actions. If you can't avoid a number of police, you would move a wound from the green box to the red box for each officer you couldn't avoid. If at any moment the green box is empty and you have to take another wound, you would take a handcuff card and place it in the rightmost space of your player board. You would discard any asset tiles covered and cover any contact cards. And then step 3, visit. When you visit a location, each location has a series of visiting steps to carry out other than the subway or the heliport. If you visited a subway or heliport, you would skip this step. Now let's look at each of the locations you can visit. Starting with businesses. Visiting businesses are either worth money now or at the end of the game. This is based on your escape plan card. When you visit business, you would follow 3 steps. Step 1, you would gain 1 notoriety for each player at the current business. Step 2, you would take the topmost income cube from your income track and either place it in the white hex or the clear hex. If it was a number on your escape plan card, you would place it in the white hex, and if there was a dollar amount on your escape plan card, you would place it in the clear hex. If you place it in the white hex, then you would gain the amount on the escape plan card at the end of the game, and then if you placed it in the clear hex because it was a dollar symbol, you would gain income immediately. And then step 3, you would take a contact card. When taking a contact card, you could pick a card and return it to the box. You can pick a card and place it in the empty leftmost space on your player board, or you could replace a contact card you have already chosen. Then you would refresh the spot that you chose. Only a certain number of players can visit each business. If you're playing a 1 to 3 player game, only 2 players can visit each business. And then with a 4 to 5 player game, 3 players could visit the business, unless you choose to use your key, either the locker key or the asset key. If you visit all the businesses of a particular color, you would gain an extra action disc or unlock an asset and lose 1 notoriety, which is indicated below your businesses. Next are your safe houses. Visiting safe houses are like businesses and are located on your escape plan card as well. You would carry out 5 steps when visiting a safe house. Step 1, you would gain 1 notoriety for each other player at your location. Step 2, you would take the topmost income cube and place it in the hex based on your escape plan card. There again, if there's a number, you place it in the red hex. And if there's a dollar symbol, you place it in the clear hex. If you placed it in the clear hex and it had a dollar symbol, you would gain your income immediately. Step 3, you would lose 1 notoriety. Step 4, you would take a key above the safe house and place it on your player board. And then step 5, which is an optional step, players can buy a fixer tile. You can choose any fixer tile and pay the price. You would place it in an empty item space. If you chose to replace an item in one of your item spaces with this tile, you would gain 1 notoriety. If you visit all 3, you would gain either 1 extra action disc or unlock an asset tile and gain income. This is indicated below the safe houses. Next are gangs. When you visit a gang, you perform 3 steps. 1, pay $5K. Step 2, take the 2 gang members and place them on your player board. And step 3, place one of your gang control markers on the location. You cannot visit gang locations if you cannot pay the $5K or if someone else is there or if there is a gang control marker on that location. You are able to use gang tokens as executive actions. Next, convenience stores. When visiting convenience stores, you will follow 4 steps. Step 1, gain 1 notoriety for each other player at your location. Step 2, which is optional, you may take 1 gas can token and put it on your player board. You can have up to 2. Step 3 is optional. You may buy up to 2 different pieces of equipment, paying the costs depicted and place it on an open item space on your player board. Step 4, if you have the right key, you may open a locker. To open a locker, you would do the following. You have to have a key tile with the same color of the locker you are choosing, or an unlocked master key asset tile. Then you would add the sum of your notoriety and contact cards on your player board, and they must be equal to or greater than the number on the locker. Then you would secretly draw tiles based on your locker color. If you are opening green, you draw the number of tiles equal to the number of contact cards you have on your player board plus 1. Then you would choose 1 and place it on an empty item space face down. You would return the rest and shuffle the stack. Next, a clinic. When you visit a clinic, you follow 4 steps. Step 1, gain 1 notoriety for each other player at the location. Step 2, which is optional, you may unlock an asset tile. Step 3, which is optional, you may heal 1 wound, moving the wound from the red box to the green box. And then step 4, take a contact card. The church. When you visit the church, you would take 4 steps. Step 1, gain 1 notoriety for each other player at the location. Step 2, which is optional, you may pay 1K to lose 1 notoriety. Step 3, which is optional, you may unlock an asset tile. And then step 4, take a contact card. Next is the hospital. When you visit the hospital, you would perform 2 steps. Step 1, which is optional, you may pay 1, 3, or 6 to heal 1, 2, or 3 wounds. And then step 2, gain 1 notoriety. Finally, exits. When visiting an exit, you would take 3 steps. Step 1, gain 1 notoriety for each other player at the location. Step 2, which is optional, if it is open, you may receive income and take a contact card. And then step 3, if the exit is closed, you either take income or exit tile and then a contact card. If you take an exit tile, you would draw a number of exit tiles equal to your contact cards, and then you would place it face down on your item space on your player board and put the rest back and then shuffle. Now that we've looked at the locations, let's look at the executive actions. There are 6 executive actions. You can use a contact card. If you have a contact card on your player board, you can pay its cost. If there is a star, you would gain notoriety, use the card's benefit, and then flip it face down. Second, you can use an equipment tile. You would use the benefit and then flip the tile. Third, using fixer tiles, you would use the benefit and then flip the tile face down. Fourth, you can perform first aid. You can flip the first aid tile over on your player board to heal 1 wound. Fifth, use gang member. You would return a token to their location and then travel from a tile that has a helipad with the H's around the tile, and you can move up to 2 tiles away just like the helicopter. You can also choose to use the gang member to avoid police. You would avoid police on 1 tile of your choice and lose 1 notoriety. When you've used both gang members, you would take the control marker off of that gang location. And then finally, using an unlocked asset tile, you would pay the value below the tile, gain the benefit, and then flip it over. After each player has taken actions, players adjust notoriety. Each player moves their notoriety marker on the track based on the notoriety on their player boards. After you've reached the max of the notoriety track, any notoriety that you gain after, you would gain a wound. And then you would move notoriety cubes back on your player board. When crossing a red line on the notoriety track, you would follow the steps that are to the side of each line. First, players below the line, in turn order, would move 1 police officer toward the player that just crossed the line. And then the player that crossed the line would gain the benefit that is next to the line. Then, escaping the city. It is during your move that you could escape the city on day 3. You must travel to an exit and avoid the police, including the exit tile that you are on because you are technically leaving that exit. You would also pay the cost based on the order at which you exit and the number of players in the game. When doing this, you must pay the cost. If you cannot pay the cost, then you are arrested and you cannot win the game. After the first player leaves and exits the city, all other players have to pay 1K on each turn before they take their actions. And then finally, phase 6, the change of day phase. You would skip this phase in day 3, and during this phase, rest tokens are flipped to the sun side and the time marker is reset. Then your turns and days would continue until the end of day 3. At the end of day 3, all of the escape players would perform final scoring. Before you start the final scoring, you must discard 1 contact card equal to every handcuff card you have on your player board. When performing the final scoring, you would break out the score pad. There are 9 steps to the final scoring. First, you would total the money collected from the visited safe houses. Second, total money collected from the visited building group 1. Third, you would add up the total money from the buildings group 2. Fourth, you would add up all of the money behind your player screen. 5, you would add up the asset tiles that you used. They are 10K each. 6, you would gain money based on the number of contact cards. For 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 contact cards, you would gain 0, 10, 30, 60, or 100K. 7, you would total the money collected from your locker and exit tiles. 8, your position on the notoriety track. And then 9, you would lose 20K for each wound cube in your red wound box. Once all the players have finished tallying up their final score, the thief that escaped on day 3 with the most money is the most successful thief and wins escape plan.